Thank you for having me back. I feel like I'm stalking the event at this point. Keep seeing everybody around town. Thanks. I'm starting strong. All right. Tonight, thankfully, I'm not doing comedy. I do a lot of different things, as he alluded to. Tonight, I kind of brought something rather personal to me, which I usually stay away from. So this will be an interesting experiment for me. I haven't really performed this particular version of this before. I've tried it once before at an open mic last year. This is a set that tonight I want to dedicate to my grandmother in Missouri. So as an artist that does a lot of different things, I come up against some frustrations, as you might imagine, especially when I try and do a different set for each thing, and even if I'm doing the same piece, I gotta change it, and this person's gonna be there, so I should do that Sinatra tune, and it makes me good on the fly, but I can't finish as much as I start, if that makes sense. And one of the main frustrations in this, especially with collaborating with others, is you might work on a project for days, months, even years, and you might get to the point where it just isn't gonna happen. It's not gonna come to fruition. And the difficult thing at this time is being able to look at that in a healthy way, I find. And so I hate wasting time, this idea of wasting time, of doing like a 1.5-year project with someone, it doesn't happen, that I realized I had to write this down and figure out a healthier way to look at it. So I'd like to share some ideas with you tonight about that. So wasting time, I defined, is when you're not doing the things you want to do to be the person who you want to be. I'll say that one more time because my phrasing is horrible. When you're not doing the things you want to be the person you want to be, all right? So I was thinking about this, and there's a poem I'd like to share with you that I wrote a while back that kind of reflects on this. And one thing I want to say just before this is something I thought of a while back, because I obviously overthink everything way too much. Reflect to grow, not to dwell. So this piece is gonna follow up on that, you'll see. You ever wake up and thought aloud, that day would be the best, only come to find out it was worse than all the rest? Well, all I can tell you is don't get too down, because half the battle is how you choose to respond now. And that's not to ignore the real problems of the world, but rather to explore every feeling robbing us of heaven here at the core. And it is our responsibility to pick up the fight and strike a chord against these choruses killing me word by word every single night. Are y'all even listening? Go on and light up the bird like a phoenix from the ashes of these times in the clashes. Man, we have the power, but now comes action. Fight the power. Wait. Reaction. Reassessment and revolution. Maybe we should have thought more before starting this movement. Because they say fables have a moral, but where is mine then? Real life is harder to reflect on when it's just never as good as the fiction. You can hold till the end. It's okay. The timid clapping, I, like him, don't encourage timid clapping. It's okay. I appreciate you, though. You're supposed to say that, right? Okay. Well, so the point of when I reflected on this, I said, there's good things you can. That poem was sort of a day where I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and me and my friends are very spiteful, so we're like, we still gonna do big things today. Turn it on the right side of the bed, and of course it's like midnight, so we're like, yeah, it's a great idea. But once the energy comes down, you start to gain focus again, and that's really what it's about. And I said, we can support who we want to be in this idea of wasting time. We can support who we want to be with the choices we make every day. And in particular, who you choose to be is not something you can define for the rest of your life at any given point. The choices are hard sometimes, and the things you have to make each moment, the options are in front of you. And even if you make the right choice, it doesn't guarantee you can make it again the next time, but it might make it that much easier. And it might make it that much easier for someone else to make the right choice. I did have one final point before I move on to the end. And as I was thinking about all of this, I thought, is wasting time something that you can do while helping another person if there is nothing in return? And I said, well, if you see no value in this, then sure, you are wasting your time. But it's really not about that, and that's what I realized when I was looking back on these projects. I mean, spent a year and a half on this project. I can do it now in 2 months. I know this person, I know that person. It really isn't about the things we accomplish so much as how we can view ourselves to accomplish what is next, what is most important when it is in front of us. It is only by going through these trials and tribulations that we can finally learn from these mistakes. When I was 9 years old, I remember very vividly sitting in the living room of my grandmother and saying the phrase, "I'm bored!" I didn't quite yell because I was in the living room with my grandmother, and she came over to me, and of course I got the whole spiel. We only had sticks and stones when we were, and it was 5 miles both ways to school, uphill, both ways. I don't know how that works. In snow, and we liked it that way, and there were no complaints, and And I realized that day that I should be careful around my grandmother with what I say, but I also realized that I'm bored is really you coming to the final realization that you are wasting your time. You are not doing the things you want to do to make you the person you want to be. Unfortunately, it is only 15 years later, as my grandmother passes into dementia, that I'm able to finally come to an expression of this understanding. This one's for you, Grandma, but don't worry, because I don't get to say I'm bored too much anymore. Thanks for listening, everybody.